All in this video we'll see Java part 2. As part of this video we'll see simple method, method with parameters, method with return type, local variable and instance variables. Okay, so now we'll see what is a method. A method is a collection of statements that perform some specific task and return result to the caller. Means a method is a collection of statements that perform some specific task, means it is an executable code. Without method you cannot execute any code in a class. So method is a collection of statements, means the lines you are writing the code. A method may contain more than 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines according to your requirement. It may have n number of lines. Those are executable. Without method you cannot execute. Okay, a method is a collection of statements that perform some specific task and return result to the caller. So it will give you the result to the caller who is using. A method can perform some specific task without returning anything also. So what is that return we'll see, but a method can give you, means it will return something, it may not return something. Methods allow us to reuse the code without retyping the code. So if you have a code which you want to write or use multiple times, multiple places, so to avoid that you can put in a method and you can reuse that lines of code. Okay, same set of code, same lines of code, same logic, that can be segregated in a method and then that can be used as a reusable code. You cannot write a method inside a method. Okay, you have a method, inside that if you want to write another method, it is not possible, but you can call a method from other method. Okay, you cannot write a method inside a method, but you can call a method from outside a, means you can call a method from other method. Okay, this is all about method theoretically. So what do you mean by instance variable and local variable? So instance variables are defined within a class but outside the method. Each instance of class contains its own copy of these variables. Instance variables are non-static variables. What do you mean by local variable? Local variables are defined within a method. Scope of that variable is restricted to that method. Means a method which you declared inside a method called local variable, a method you declared inside a class and outside any method is called instance variable. So now we'll see all these things by taking examples. So first we'll talk about methods first, after that we'll come to the variables. So first we'll go to Eclipse. We have written some variables demo, I'll leave like that. Now what I'll do, I'll create a package in the source folder. New, how you create a package? You have one of the options called package. Right click, new package. I'll name it as methods. We're talking about the methods, right? I'll make it as methods. And package name should be lowercase. You see that? You will get a warning. Discouraged package name. By convention, package names usually starts with a lowercase letter. You can give. It will not stop you to create like this or restrict you to do like this. But it's not a practice. So you have to give small m. Finish. You see that method with some 4 white squares, right? 4 squares with white color. White color means inside that you do not have anything, say empty package. Okay, empty package. Inside that I want to create a class. Without class you cannot do anything, right? So class is mandatory. So I'll right click on that, new class. I'll say simple method and public static void main. Okay. Finish. You see that now it became some brown color. Brown color means you have something inside the package. If I remove this now again, I'll say delete. Okay, you see that it become white color now. Okay, so it's just an indication. Class simple method and click finish. Oh, I forgot to give public static void main, but I did intentionally. So if you miss something like that, you can write public static void main, right? We already seen in our previous video, but you have a shortcut. What you can do, main control space. Okay, when you say control space, it will give you instruction that you see you'll have something like this option. When you double click on that, you see that it will give you by default. What it contains? Public static void main string args. What I'll do, I'll tell you again, main control space, hit enter now. You see that it created that method. That simple it is, shortcut. Okay, now it's a simple method. It is called main method. So I'll put something notes like this. Okay, main method. But I want to write my own method. I want to write my own method. How you can do that? Okay. Now, what I'll do, public void, I can give a name to my method. So this is method name, print employee details, and method name ends with these brackets, normal brackets. Okay, if I remove this, I'll get an error. You have to put that represents method. If you find somewhere with this syntax, that is called a method. So public void method. Public means it's a public method you can use anywhere you want, anywhere in your project. In the Java demo project, if in some other class also if you want to use, you can use this method. Void means we have seen that, right? A method may return something, method may not return something. Void means it will not return anything. Void means nothing. It will not return anything. And this is my method name, print employee details. Okay, how you print your employee details? System dot out dot println, and I'll give. You have to give in the double quotes only. Okay, in the double quotes only. Employee first name is, I can say some dummy name. What I can say? First only. Employee first name is first. And each and every time I cannot write system.out.println. Okay, you have a shortcut for this. How you have a main for main method, the same way you have yes out, the same way control space. You see that it is generating the system.out.println. So employee last name is, I can say simply last, some dummy. So is out control space. Employee ID is something like 1, 2, 3. Okay, whatever you give that inside double quotes will be printed on the console. Okay, if I give something outside this, I'll get an error. It should be inside the, what do you say, strings. It is called strings. These are called strings actually, but we'll talk about strings in a separate class. Okay, so it should be in the double quotes. Now I want to execute this method. How can I execute this method? Right, how can I execute this method? So before that, what we'll do, we'll go step by step. I'll say public void method1. I'm giving some name called method1. So I have written something here. I am in method 1. Okay, some dummy message. Inside this, I am trying to create another method. How you create a method? Public void method 2. You see that? I'll get an error. Void is an invalid type, and method 2 is illegal modifier for parameter method 2. Only final is permitted, something like that, but you cannot do this. Okay, so I'll remove this. And what do you mean by this curly braces? So you are writing a method, that's it. Right, that is fine. But what is the code you are writing in this method? Otherwise, what is the code belongs to this method? Okay, for that you should have a starting point and ending point. In between, if you write something, that is belongs to that method only. So this opening curly braces is starting point of this method, and this curly braces is what? Ending point. In between, if you write anything, that belongs to that method only. Okay, so previously when we executed this in the previous class or previous video, when I execute this, it is giving me something like this, printed. Whatever we have given in the system.out.println, that is printed. So now we have some system.out.println, right? So now what I'll do, I'll try to execute this. Right clicks, run as Java application. If you go to the console, you see that I'm not getting anything. Why? The reason is, when you start executing, this is the starting point, right? Public static void main. So it will come here. So it has to go inside this. When it go inside this, I do not have anything to execute. This is an empty method. I do not have anything, right? So it will look into that. If you do not have anything, it will not print anything. Then what about print employee details? That is a method, right? Executable code we are saying, but it is not executing now. What is the reason? Right? So then when you come here, you can write n number of methods. So I am not getting any error. You will not find any red color code, right? Some instructions. So I am not getting any error, but I am not able to print. So in Java, if you want to print anything, that should be in the main method only. Without main method, you cannot do anything. If you want to print something, it should be inside the main method. So now what I will do, we have seen that, right? You can call a method from other method, but you cannot write a method inside a method. We have seen this, right? I'm getting some error. You cannot write a method inside a method, but you can call a method from another method. So that we can do. So I'll call this method from the main method. Simply you use this method inside this, but I'm getting some error. How? So it's a static. Static means without creating an object, I can access, otherwise I can execute methods. So if you want to call a method inside a static method, and this method should also be a static method, so you should say public static void. Okay, a static method can call another static method. Okay, it cannot call non-static methods. So I changed it to static. Now I am not getting any error. So now what I'll do, I'll execute this. You see that it is printing everything. Employee first name is first, employee last name is last, employee ID is 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now what happened? It went inside this and it found a method. When you found a method, it will directly jump into that method where this method is. So I found the method here. So again it will go inside this. It will print line by line. It will execute line by line. So once it is done, when you found this one, end of the method, then it will come back to this one. After that, you have anything to execute? No, it will come out of that. Okay, now what I'll do is out, I am in main method starting point, something like that. Okay, so what I'll do is out, I am in main method middle of main method. Okay, again I'll call one more method, method 1, public static, I'll say method 1, I'll call here. So after that I can write again, I am in main method ending point. Okay, now I'll try to execute this and see what is the behavior. You see that first line is I am in main method starting point, then employee details, employee first name, employee last name, employee ID, then I am in middle of main method, then I am in method 1, and then I am in method ending point, main method ending point. Means it will execute line by line. You see that first, once it comes inside this, what it found this line, it printed. After that it found a method, so it went to that method, it executed that method. After completion of that method, it came back, so then it found one more line of system.out.println, so it printed. After that it found a method, so it went to that method, so whatever inside that it executed. So I have only one line, it printed. So after completion of this, it came back. After that I found this line, so it printed this. So line by line it will print like this. So I am calling a method inside another method. Okay, so I am able to print everything. This is a simple method. Okay, simple method. I have given, means I have written a method, inside that I am writing some dummy console messages. It is printing that, it is executing and it is printing that information. Okay, so I cannot write something like outside the method or inside the class. So this is outside any method, I am writing inside the class. If I say yes out, you see it is creating a method by taking that, but I cannot write something like this. If I copy this, if I paste here, I am getting some error. Right, it is even not giving me any suggestion what to do. So you cannot write like this. Without method you cannot execute anything. Okay, this is all about a simple method. Now what we'll discuss, method with return type. Sorry, first we'll discuss method with parameters, then we'll go to the method with return type. So in the same package, in the methods, I'll create another class. What is that? Method with parameters. Okay, public static void. So now what I'll do, I have some employees inside my company or somewhere. What I'll do, public void, other I'll say static void print employee details. Okay, so I'll copy paste this code from here. Okay, print employee details. Now I want to print my employee details. I just simply took here and I executed this. It is printing. Perfect. That we already see. Now I have more than one employee. I want to print each and every employee details. Let's assume this is print first employee details. Okay. Now I want to print second employee details. Okay. Public static void print second employee details. Okay. So I'll copy paste the same thing. Instead of, I'll say employee first name is second, otherwise employee first name here, first one, last one, here first two, last two, and the number I'll change it to something else. Okay, fine. I'll print this also. I'll call here, I'll print. If it is also printing fine. Now tell me, I have more than 100 employees, 1 lakh employees, 10,000 employees. I want to print each and every employee details. What will you do? You keep writing n number of methods. If I have 100 employees, 100 methods, 200 employees, 200 methods. That is not a proper way, right? You are wasting so much of your time and you are wasting the memory, and it is very tedious job tomorrow if you want to manage that code, if you want to change somewhere, right? And I'm storing the same kind of data again and again, right? I'm storing first name, last name, employee ID. Only this value is different, but remaining things are same. And I'm storing, I'm printing employee details. So in this situation, let's assume here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code I'm writing to print a particular employee details. And the same way 6. Let's assume I have 100 employees. Okay, 100 employees. So now what I'll do, I'll take multi-line comment. Okay, so I have 100 employees. I want to print each and every. So 100 into 6 is equals to 600 lines of code I have to write. Now how big it will become, the code or file, right? So, and we already discussed, if you have same kind of code, you can create a method and you can keep calling that, right? So you have same data. Now to avoid this, we can use parameterized methods. We can create a method with parameter. So now what I'll do, I'll comment this code from here to here. You see that multi-line comment. Now I'll copy paste the same thing again. Okay, I'll say print, instead of first, second, third, I can say generic name, print employee details. And inside a method, you can give some parameters. Whatever you give inside that called parameters. So you have to give what is the data type, what kind of data you need. So name is called kind of string. We'll discuss what is string, but here you just accept as it is, string first name, comma. You need to separate different values with the comma. So again, what kind of data type? String. You just give a name to that, string last name, comma. I say int id. Okay. I need 3 values, right? First name, last name, id. So 3 parameters. So after that, what you can do here is, I will end my string here. Okay, I'll end my string here. And I will remove these values. These are all hard coded, right? First, last, I hard coded. Now what I'll remove this. And what I'll do, if you want to, this is one string, this is another string. Otherwise, with a string, if you want to add other value, integer or boolean, whatever it may be, with a string, if you want to add, here we say concatenation. So what you can do, if you want to concatenate, you need to take that, you need to use a plus symbol. Plus means kind of adding first name, okay, first name, then this last name. So this name only you have to give. If you have another thing, it will give an error. I'll say IDs. See, you get error. If I say ID, error will go. This first name is this first name. This last name is this last name. This ID is this ID. So I am passing through this one. I am replacing here. Okay. Now, if I want to use this method, what I'll do, I'll comment this code. Now, print employee details. So inside that, if I leave like this, print employee details, if I leave like this, I'll get an error. Add arguments to match print employee details string int. A method with string int you are not using that, use that, it is saying. So string means you have to write in the double quotes. What is that? First one, comma, again string, last one, comma, ID 123. Right, error gone. I'll take the same thing, I'll call the method again with the different sets of data. Here I'll give 2, what we are giving here, 153, right? I'll change it to 15. So previously, when I execute, what is the output? You see, first employee details, second employee details. So I'll clear this. How you clear this? Right click, you can say clear. Okay, it's gone. Now, if I execute this, I'll get the same output. So I'll execute this. You see, I'm getting the same output. Why? I'm not writing like this. I'm writing like this with parameters. While calling this method, whatever the data I want, I can pass like this. That can be replaced here. It will print the same thing. How you are getting when you write like this. Okay. This is called what? Method with parameters. By using this parameterization, I reduced code, writing lines of code. Now I have 100 employees, but here I have one method with 6 lines, then total it become 106 lines. Right. What is the difference between these two? 500 lines of code almost I reduced. Right. Here 2 lines, here 6 lines. If you have 100 employees, like this you need to write 100 lines. This is 6 lines. 100 plus 6, 106. Here 600 lines of code. Here 106 lines of code. What is the difference between these two? Almost 500 lines. 500 means it's a big code we are reducing, right? So this is the benefit of methods with parameters. Okay, according to your requirement, you need to choose what kind of method I can write. Okay, this is all about method with parameters. Now we'll see method with return type. In the methods, new class, methods with return type. In public static void main, finish. So I will write public void int sum. Okay. So sorry, public void sum. Right. Now void means nothing. Void means nothing. It will not return anything to user. Anything to user. So it will execute whatever the output you want, it can give. But after executing this method, the output I need, I can use that output somewhere if I want. See, while writing applications or code, you will write so much of code, so many files, so many places. So after adding some numbers, I want that result to be used somewhere else. So at that time I need return type. So now what I can do, void means it will not give you anything back. What I'll do, I want to add two numbers, int a comma int b. Okay. So what I'll do, int c is equals to a plus b. Plus means it will add two numbers. So I need to say, okay, I want to print this out, c. That's fine. Now if I want to access this, I need to make it static. I'll say sum of 2 comma 5. Okay, when I execute this, I'll get 7. You see, I'm getting 7. 2 5 replace it here. 2 will be a value, 5 will be b value, a plus b, 2 plus 5, that I'm storing in the c. I'm printing that c. So I'm getting 7. That's fine. But I want to use this 7 for some other purpose. Okay, I want to use this 7 for some other purpose. If it is a void, I cannot store this result. The result is also 7, right? Sorry, integer, right? 7 is also an integer. So the result of sum of 2 comma 5 is 7. The value is 7. So I can store an integer, right? 7 is a integer. Int s is equals something like that. But I am getting some error. Change return type of sum to int. So if it is void, it cannot give anything back to me. So if it is not giving anything back to me, I cannot store somewhere. If I want something back and I want to store, then instead of void, you can use what kind of value you are getting out of this, int, right? So here what you can say, return c. Return means it is giving something back. What it is giving back? Result c it is giving back. Okay, now the error gone, see. Now I no need to write system.out.println here. I can directly say s out yes. What is s is holding now? What c is holding? The same way, a plus b, c, sum of 2 comma 5. What is that? 2 comma 5, 2 plus 5, c. It is giving me c. C is having 7. Then that is, I am storing in the s. S is having c. When I run this, I will get the same value 7. But I am printing s here, not c. Even then also I am getting 7. So I can hold that value. So that is called return type. If I want something back, so after getting this one, I will say int k is equals to s plus 5. Okay, s out. I will say k value here plus k. Right, the return, it is giving something back to me. What is that? 2 comma 5, 7. 7 I am printing with, I am adding with 5 again. So now if it is void, I cannot use something like this. If it is return type, it is integer, I can add another integer to this one. When I run this one, I should get 12, right? S value is 7, 7 plus 5, 12. I am printing that k, 12. Right. So if you need something back, then you need to use return type. And this is called return type. Public static int. Otherwise, so it is different concept. Static is to call in the static, but public int sum, public void sum, public string sum, public boolean sum. Apart from the void, if you use any other thing, that should give something back to us. Okay. The same way, if I use something else, public static, I can say string full name. How will get the full name? Here I'll say string first name comma string last name. Alright, you see it is giving me to add return statement. Otherwise change return type to void. Whether you change this to void, okay, otherwise if it is string you need to return something, otherwise I will not accept. Okay, what I will do, string f name is equals to first name plus last name. If both are integer, it will add. If both are string, if I use plus symbol, both will concatenate now. Okay, if it is numbers, it will add, but it is strings, both are strings. First name and last name I cannot add, right? I cannot sum that. So that is the reason it will concatenate. So now I will say return. I need to return string, right? I cannot return integer now. I cannot return 1, 2. I need to return string only. What it is string, right? You need to return that only. So now if I say what I'll say now, and then is out, I'll call that method full name of first comma last. Now if I run this, see I can directly calling that method inside a public static void main. The reason is the output of this is string, right? System.out.println will accept string, but when you execute this full name, what it is giving me back? String. So that is the reason the result of this is a string. So system.out.println needs string. I am giving the string. So when I run this is first last. It is concatenating first last and it is giving me the result. This is string type of return type. Okay, this is how you can use a method with a return type. If you use return type, you need to return something. Something means the same kind of data type, so that you can store in the same value and you can use it for some other purpose. Okay, this is called method with return type. Now we'll see what is local variable. So I'll create a package now. I'll say package called something like variables. Inside this I'll create a class local variable public static void main. So inside this I will write, so public static void, I'll say method 1. Okay, int a is equals to 10, int b is equals to 20, int c equals to a plus b, s out a, sorry c. Yeah, that's fine. Now I'll write one more method, public static void method 2. Inside this I'll say int, otherwise c is equals to a minus b, and I'll print s out c. Okay, so I'm getting c, a, b as some errors, some red color. Create a local variable c, create a local variable a, but I already created these variables, right? Int a, b, c, right? Why I'm not able to use here? Means local these are all, whenever you create something, a variable inside a method, the scope of that variable will be till here only, ending of this method. After this method, after this line, you cannot use these things. Okay, so these are called local variables. I cannot use these things. Here I can say once again I can use int a equals to some 40, int b is equals to some 50 and int c. Okay, error gone. Now but here I cannot create again int a equals to some 70. The reason is you cannot create a duplicate, but here I am using the scope of this a is inside this only. After that it doesn't know what is a, so again I can use that a inside another method, but inside the method it knows a, already a is created. That is the reason we should not use. Okay, so local variable means that is only applicable inside a method. So these a, b, c are local to this method 1. Outside the method 1 I cannot use this same abc. If I want to use abc, I can reinitialize this one. Reuse means you need to mention again integer a, integer b, integer c, something like that. Okay, now I can simply call this method 1, method 2. Okay, when I run this, you see 10 comma minus 30. Here 10 plus 20 30, 40 minus 50 minus 10. So the scope of these variables are only to this method only. These are called local variables. Okay, now we'll see instance variable. New class instance variables, public static variable. Here what I'll do the same example, public void method 1, public void method 2. But now what I'll do, I'll create outside the methods. So int a comma b comma c. Okay, you can directly write like this, otherwise like this. So int a, int b, int c, otherwise you can say int a comma b comma c, both the ways. Well, simple, it is a comma b comma c. Now what I'll do, a is equals to 10, b is equals to 20, c is equals to a plus b and s out c. You see that I'm not getting any error, but I'm not saying like this int a, int b, int c. If I remove int here, I'll get an error. You see, without int I cannot use here, but here I'm using by. These are instance variables at the class level already initialized, so I can use in my entire class wherever I need. So the same ABC I need here in the other method. B equals to 50, C is equals to A minus B. S out C. Right, but here again I am initializing into A, into B, into C. But in the instance I am not initializing again and again. The one-time initialization in the top, the class level, so that can be used anyway. Though these are called instance variables. Public static. You see that I'm getting error. Why? So inside the static you can only access static only. So we need to mention static int here. When I run this, you'll get the same output. Sorry, we need to call this method side. So I'm not calling here. I'll run again. You see 30 minus t. Same output, but here the way I'm initializing the variables is different. It is in the class level, but here only in the method level. These are all called local variables. These are called instance variables. These are instance variables. These are local variables. Okay, this is all about local and instance variables. When I go here, is there anything I'm missing? That's it, right? Simple method, method with parameters, method with return type. We have seen local variables and instance variables. Okay, that's all in this video. Thank you.